Hello everyone. In this lesson, we continue working on file uploading, but this time we will upload files not to Cloudinary, but to Amazon's S3. What's the difference between Cloudinary and S3? In Cloudinary, it's best to upload various images to transform them later. If you're working with some documents, it might be better to upload them to Amazon, although you can also upload regular files to Cloudinary. The point is that both solutions are good, and I want to show you both. So in this lesson, we will learn how to upload files to Amazon, and for now, just one file. And in the next lesson, we'll do batch file uploading again. Some aspects will be similar to uploading to Cloudinary, while some will be different. The lesson is extensive again. All right, let's get started. First, we'll need an account on Amazon. Register with the same email you use for all other accounts. Okay, I'll register now and be back. Okay, I managed to sign up, and now we move to the AWS console. AWS has a lot of different services, and we'll need S3. After registration, it still asks you to log in. All right, let's log in. All right, we need to go to S3. It usually suggests it here, but if not, you can search in this bar and go to S3. Everything in AWS has terrible names, but S3 is the standard. It's a cloud file storage. So we need to create a bucket, and let's think of a name for the bucket. Well, let's say ideal. Fine. The region is not very important. Choose the one closer to your users. Let's leave it as that. Okay, bucket. This suggests to select. No, okay, all set. We specified it like this. Then, it's important to uncheck this box because we will allow other users to access our files. By default, AWS assumes you upload files and no one can view them except you. If you want to access them, you retrieve them using some key. But we will make a public bucket, let people upload anything here, and everyone else can view it. All right, that's why it's public. You can leave everything else as it is. Create the bucket. We confirm that yes, we understand it's public. So, great. The bucket is created. Now it needs to be configured. It's important for us to go into permissions and specify the bucket policy. In the lesson description, there's how to specify it. You need it like this, edit. There. And specify it like this. Allow all files, take, from our bucket. You just need to replace this with the name of our bucket. All right. Now we save it. And we also need a course policy. Also editing. And insert the next policy. All right. Upload servers, anything upload here. Saved. Okay. The bucket itself is supposedly set up. Now we need all possible creds to upload files there. So we will have, again, there is a link in the lesson description. Go here. It's not so easy to reach through the menu. And now let's get our secret keys. Landed here. So, access case. We need to create access case. All right. Click the check mark. Create a key. Key created. We need this value and that value. Great. And now we can go into the code and add. So, the secret will mostly be needed on the backend. So, we move to the backend. First, to the original .env file. Now, S3 access key ID. This is this one. Then S3 secret access key. this will be this. Next, you need the name itself. The bucket name, we called it ID, and nickname, yes. And it is very important to specify the correct region. You need to check the region. In fact, you can see it here, in the browser's address bar. You can peek here. You can explore the bucket settings. But usually, it just exists in the URL. All right? Okay, it's probably this one. And also here. Yes. But the bucket is not so obvious. All right, we peeked it here. Took it. Great. And we need to set the S3 URL as well. We will need it to retrieve our files. URL looks like this. It substitutes the region right here. It ends with the name of your bucket. Okay, we wrote it in .env here. Now let's write the same .env in .env example. So these three are not necessary, and we mark them as secret. Although, okay, let's still allow people to see them because it's not a big deal. And let's also allow people to see the S3 region. So, and substitute the URL. Okay, we've got it sorted here. Now let's add the necessary settings to our .env.ts. So, 5 new fields. So, well, these things are needed for upload. Here we go. And suppose someone doesn't have our secrets. Let them not specify them during local development, but they must specify them not on localhost, but S3 URL should be mandatory. Great. So, and now we will need some libs related to SDK AWS. Let's install them. pnpm backinstall. We need the AWS SDK S3 client, and we also need the SDK to create signed URLs for uploading our files. Installing. So in terms of features, what we will do is add another button on the idea page to upload, for example, a certificate. For example, ideas can have certificates, and it's a type of document. Then the certificate can be downloaded from the idea page. All right, since we've decided to do this, we need to update our Prisma and add the option to specify a certificate in the idea. Prisma, schema. All right, here's our idea. Okay, and let's insert the certificate after the images. It might be, might not be, so it's just a string. Here, again, the certificate will simply point to our file on the bucket. All right, let's adjust it in the migration. Okay, the migration will be called Add Certificate Tool Ideas. Good. All right, and let's fix our backend roots. We are interested in 2 roots, idea creation and idea editing. So now we can specify the certificate here. It should be a string, can be null. Okay, so, and updates. The idea, everything inherits from us, so it will suit us. So, did we install the SDK? We have installed the SDK, good. So, and now let's create a route on the backend, similar to prepare Cloud Inary upload, but it will be prepare S3 upload. And let's see what the difference will be. So, we'll just copy and rename it. Prepare S3 Upload. Okay. So, let's deal with the input first, I guess. Let the input be like this. So look, when we upload our file from the front end, we know the file name, file type, well, the extension, roughly speaking, and its size. And if in Cloudinary, we received a URL where you could upload any files, with S3 it won't work that way because Cloudinary generates file names, but in S3 they are stored with the name we specify. And if we allow users to upload any files, they could theoretically overwrite each other's files. We don't need that, so for each individual file upload, we will create a separate upload URL here. And when we create a signed URL, we'll allow uploading only this file with a name that we specify. All right, let's analyze the code of the endpoint itself to better understand the idea here. Okay, NXTs, wow, this kind of thing. So, not everything is written here yet. We'll need key helper code for S3 and creating the native string. But for now, let's analyze, then we'll see. We describe the maximum file size we want to allow so that movies aren't uploaded to the site in 2 gigabytes. And we do the following. In input, as we recall, we accept the file name, its type, and size. Received, checking the file size. If it's more than 10 megabytes, we'll throw an error. Then next, the S3 client is created through our SDK. Let's look at this code now. The essence is that it's an instance of our SDK. Then we define the S3 key. We decide that all uploads will be stored in the upload folder. We don't need to separate stuff like we did on Cloudinary, like avatars, images. Everything goes together here. Then we generate a random 32-character string. This ensures that files don't overwrite each other. Then we add a dash and write the original file name. We need the original file name so that on the front end, we can also display the original file name, making it convenient for the user to understand which file they uploaded. And we just won't show this line to him. All right. Then we again create a URL that we will send to the front end, which a person can use to upload files directly to AWS. And we say the following. Here's our bucket defined. Here we have defined the S3 key. We pre-authorize it to upload a file with this exact name in this specific folder. Now, the initial content type and file size are specified, meaning the same one the user provided. So now he won't be able to upload any other file, only a file with this exact name, type, and size. Theoretically, he can fiddle with the size by replacing some file symbols with others, but it won't cause any harm, right? It's important for us here that either way, he won't be able to upload more than 10 megabytes, and we state that it expires in 3600 milliseconds. All right. Okay. And we return the S3 key to him. He'll need it to upload with the correct name and assign it to a URL to upload the file through it. Okay. So, this is our endpoint. Let's finish the missing files. So, let's create a file, s3.ts, in the lib folder, and we'll put our client operations here. Here we create this function that we call in our index.ts. This is get s3 client. What are you going to do? Now, s3. It's wrapped in a memo so we don't create the same client twice. Once created without specifying parameters in a memo, it actually executes only once. All other times, it will automatically return what it gave the first time. Check for invocations takes place, and the client itself remains. Just pass our creds, region and access keys. That's it. And we returned our client, the S3 client we import from the library we just installed. Good. This is fine. And getRandomString has the following content. So, Sargutels, Maybe it's a small function, getRandomString.ts. Here I suggest using a library for generating random strings. It might be useful for us in the future too. There are different settings here. I ask to include both letters and numbers and make everything lowercase, and I pass the length we need here. Let's install this library too, pnpm install, and we also need its types. So, waiting for the installation. Okay, and install the types too. All right, great. Types are installed, and they have been fetched. Now let's write a function that will return a URL with our upload, and we'll create it in the shard folder, because theoretically, we might need this URL on the back end as well, for example, to send an email with an attachment. Okay, create a file in the shard, file s3.ts. Here's the content. What's the idea here? We're using the s3.url from our environment variables. We've already added it to the backend. Now we'll add it to the front end, right? And we have two functions here, getting the upload URL. For this, we just concatenate this s3.url. I remind you, it's like this. And to it, we add s3.key. That's it. This will allow us to display the file to the user. But our file name, as we recall, starts with a jumble at the beginning, 32 unclear characters, and we need to somehow show the original file name to the user. In this regard, we perform the following transformation. Here we replace this scary regex. We're asking to replace it. What is it actually? So a bunch of different symbols start with anything. Okay, one moment. Basically, this regex essentially takes everything from our path up to the last slash. This is actually a standard regex for extracting a file name from any path. Here, this backslash is possibly redundant, as we can't have a backslash in a URL, but let's leave it. So, basically like this, it worked, would. But let's keep it standard. There, that is, we actually just cut off the entire path to the file and leave only the file name. Here we will only have this line left. Then we split this string by hyphen and remove the first part of this array. The first part of this array will be the random string, and then in our file name, there could also be hyphens, here. And the array will remain with all parts of this file name divided by hyphens, and we will join them back through hyphens and thus get the original file name. We will use this thing to show the user the file name they uploaded on the front end, and this one to get a link to it in the bucket. Okay, that's done. Now let's start creating the component on the front end file in order to upload these very files. But first, let's add our env. So, we will need the same S3 URL as on the backend. Right, and don't forget to add it to env example, okay? Add it. Let's add to nvts. White, S3 URL. Okay, so. And let's create a component. Upload component to S3. So, index.tsx. Aude. Also create an index.module.sss. Good. So, let's look at the contents of our tsx file. So, before we break it down, let's add our newly created root to the index file. Good. And now we can break it down. Similarly, we have a hook here called useUpload to OS3. We'll break it down a bit later. And there's the component itself. This is old logic, yes. That is, we just get the value from formic. Error. Is it touched? Is it invalid? And is the form disabled? Again, we have an HTML input to upload the file. Now it accepts everything, not just images. See? And we'll also need its ref to programmatically click on it when pressing the button. We've also established that there might be a loading state for this component. And what do we see? Now, let's also look at the input. First, let's see what's below. As usual, a label. Here, if there is a value and nothing is loading, we can show a preview of our file, so to speak. But the preview will simply be a link that leads to the download page of the file. Well, the link text itself is the original file name from this function. All right? And we have the following buttons. There's always an upload or upload another button. The text simply depends on whether we have a value or not. When you click on this button, we programmatically click on this input, and a file selection window appears. And if the file is already uploaded, there's nothing else, really, and no upload happens, then we can again click Remove and just clear this value in formic. All right? All right? We enter an error at the bottom. Let's look at our input element. What happens when we selected a file? The logic is very similar to what was in Cloudinary. So, again, we set the upload, find the file, call the function upload to S3, which we got from this hook, which we'll now go over. And in response, if there was a public ID in Cloudinary, here it's called S3K. And just insert this string into the formic values. If there's an error, display it. Ultimately, always indicate that input was touched. Loading should stop, and the selected file in our hidden input should be cleared. Let's take a look at useUpload to S3, how it's set up. In general, in a similar way, we have the mutation prepare S3 upload, which we just created, that should return S3K and sign to URL, and it should accept these three values: name, type, and size. All right, so where were we? So, when we call this function right here, we've already selected the file and passed that file there. We passed this file there. In the mutation, we passed the values file name, which is the original file name, file type, and file size. The backend returns a URL, which we can now use to actually upload this file. As you can see, we didn't send the file itself to the backend, only some data about it, right? In S3K. Okay? Next, we make a PUT request. Simply pass the file to the specified URL in the body here. Right. It will automatically be uploaded to this S3K because when we created the URL, we signed it for this S3K. The backend returned S3K to us here, simply so that we could return it to our form and apply this value here. All right, so here we have the file uploaded, and we just need to know that there's no error here. That's it. And after that, we return S3K. If an error occurs here, it will crash here, and we'll end up here. Okay, we created the input itself. We also need its styles, which we will inherit into this input. And here, we just need to specify that our upload link is some kind of link. We have had a CSS mixin created for this for a long time. We'll use it. All other styles will be from the regular input, as it won't differ much. Good. Now we can go and add this input to our editing and text creation pages for ideas. All right, we need pages. Pages, ideas, new idea page. Okay. Upload to S3. Okay. We'll have a label, certificate, name, certificate, and formic. Okay, but we're already getting complaints about initial values. Let's set up a certificate here. Right. Okay, add it here, and let's immediately add it to the idea editing page. Now, here we'll ask to return the certificate as well. And here we'll insert an input. Upload to S3. Okay. Let's see if all this will work. Button appeared. Press upload. So, let's say we upload it. Some document. It doesn't matter which one. Okay. And then we immediately got CORS errors. All right. Let's figure this out. Okay. I mixed up the name of our region. Still, let's take the region directly from bucket S3. You need to go to Properties and see the region here and use it. So, excuse me. Let's use this region everywhere, because we specified the wrong region. So, here in infect sample, we need to change it. We need to change it in web app. All right. Okay, good. Changed everywhere. Let's try again. So, uploading certificate. Let's choose some Japanese one. All right, great. The file has been uploaded. Here's its original name. Nevertheless, when we follow the link, we see this random string here, and our file appeared for us. Good, right? Good. Great. Deletion works. We can upload again. Okay. Uploaded. We can upload something else. Yes, great. This is what we wanted. Now let's create an idea and check that it works when editing as well. Okay, let's go to edit. Yes, the file loaded the same way. Great. And here you can try uploading another one. Also, this file, even though we uploaded it, won't reach the backend until we click Update Idea. So what we did here by uploading, we uploaded it to S3. What we send it to our backend, we save in the S3K database of this file. All right, updated the idea. The file is set. Now, we need to make it so we can view it. Okay, let's go to the View Idea page and add the code. Well, and after the gallery, let it be. There. If the idea has a certificate, we add a div where the certificate will be, and a link to the certificate itself. We pull in our helpers. Got it. So, and we add a bit of CSS, a link to styles. There. Okay. We just added the markers and applied style to the link as well. Good. Here we see the certificate. We can click on it, see it. Good. If our idea doesn't have a certificate, then it doesn't display. Yes. So good. Okay. The feature works now, only when we upload files. Let's upload a file now. Let's check our backend logs. There. And we see. So, is there anything secret we don't want to log? I called the wrong mutation. We called cloudinary. So, let's select the certificate. So, again this file. Open. Let's look at the logs. We have a secret in this signed URL. Let's hide it. Let's go to our logger.ts And also add this line here instead of where we filter logs. Load it again. Okay. And that's it. Signed to URL is also hidden. Great. We've done uploading a single file. In the next lesson, we'll upload multiple files. Thank you all. See you soon.